What's the real difference between good writing and great writing? It's not just about using fancy words. The secret? Well, get this, it's actually hiding in some really old philosophical notes. We're going to dive in and see how the anatomy of just one word can totally change how we write, giving us way more power and precision.
Okay, so it all kicks off with this really simple line from our source notes. Please give reading attractive text. I mean, that's what we all want, right? But what is that? What makes text attractive? Is it just, a bit of style, or is there something way deeper going on? Turns out the answer is, yeah, it's pretty profound.
So here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we'll talk about that call for clarity. Then we'll get into the anatomy of a word. After that, we'll look at the substance of meaning. Check out some ancient frameworks of reality, and then, this is the best part, we'll see how it all comes together so you can write your world.
All right, section 1, the call for clarity. So let's start right there. What is it that makes writing feel elegant? And seriously, where do you even begin looking for that answer?
Just think about it for a second. When you read something that just grabs you, what's really happening? Is it just the author's cool style? Or is there something more fundamental at play? Something happening right down at the level of the words themselves?
Okay, so our guide for all this, it's these incredible handwritten notes. You could almost call them a science of words. I know, they look pretty dense, but trust me, they've got the key to unlocking not just language, but reality itself. So, let's dive in and see what's inside.
So, to really get a handle on language, these ancient thinkers did something brilliant. They started taking it apart piece by piece, and they realized, hey, not all words are created equal. They figured out that all words basically fall into one of 3 core types.
First up, we've got what's called a rooted word. Think of it as the conventional word. It's probably the most basic type. The only reason it means what it means is, well, because we all agree it does. It's pure social convention. There's nothing in the sound of the word itself that points to its meaning. We've just been using it that way for ages.
A super easy example is the word horse. The sounds, H-O-R-S-E. I mean, they have zero natural connection to that big animal that neighs, right? We've just all decided that that specific sound means that specific thing. That is a textbook Ruda word.
Okay, so the second type is the Yaugika word, or the derived word. Now these are the total opposite of Ruto words. Their meaning isn't random at all. It's super clear. It's literally built from its parts, kind of like a math equation. You can actually figure out what it means just by looking at how it's put together.
The perfect example here is writer. It's just the verb write plus the ending which means a person who does the thing. So a writer is a person who writes. See? The meaning is right there in the pieces. It's totally transparent. That's Yogifika for you.
All right, now for what I think is the coolest one, Yogruda, the hybrid word. This one is a really neat mix of the other two. So, on one hand, it's built from parts, just like a Yogika word. But, and this is the key, convention, just like with a Ruda word, has stepped in and narrowed its meaning down to something super specific.
And our source notes give us the absolute perfect example for this, the Sanskrit word pankaj. Okay, let's break it down. Panka means mud. Ja means born. So its literal derived meaning is born from mud. Now, logically, that could be a whole bunch of things, right? Worms, plants, all sorts of stuff. But by convention, pankaj means one thing, and one thing only, the lotus flower. So it has that logical structure, but its meaning is locked in by culture. That right there is a Yogruda word.
So you might be thinking, this is a neat little classification system, but so what? Well, this was way more than just an academic exercise for them. This was their tool to tackle a much bigger question. What does a word actually represent? Like, what is it really pointing to out there in the world?
And this leads us to this really key idea called padartha. Padartha is the meaning, the substance, the thing that a word points to. For these philosophers, when they said the word tree, they weren't just talking about the idea of a tree. They meant the actual, physical, real-world tree. Every single word was a direct pointer to a tangible piece of reality.
And this is where it gets kind of mind-blowing. If every word points to a real thing in the world, then if you could classify all the words, you could classify all of reality itself. Think about that. The dictionary wouldn't just be a book of words, it would be a complete map of the entire universe.
And guess what? That is exactly what they tried to do. Different schools of thought took this whole Padartha concept and ran with it, trying to build these massive, all-encompassing systems to categorize, well, everything.
You can see on this slide how a few of them went about it. So you had the Vaisheshika school, and they thought, okay, everything in existence can be sorted into just 6 basic categories. Then the Muktavali school came along and said, nope, it's 7. And then you have the Naya school, who really went for it, with 16 categories. They were all trying to create the perfect inventory of reality, just by using language.
Let's just take a quick peek at those 6 Vaisheshika categories just to get a feel for it. They basically said everything that exists is either a substance, like a rock, a quality, like the color blue, an action, like running, a generality, which is the idea of rockness itself, a particularity, which is the unique essence of a thing, and finally, inherence, which is like the glue that sticks a quality to a substance. And for them, that was it. The whole universe fit into those 6 boxes.
Okay, so this is all super interesting philosophy, right? But let's bring it back home. What does any of this Ruda, Yogika, Padartha have to do with us right now trying to write better?
And that brings us to the final, and I think most powerful idea here, writing your world. Because the connection is actually incredibly direct. For these ancient thinkers, when you choose your words, you are literally choosing your reality.
This is the big takeaway. Elegant, attractive writing isn't just about good grammar. It's about being incredibly precise. It's knowing that when you pick the word lotus instead of just flower, or sprinted instead of just ran, you're not just swapping out synonyms. You're actually choosing a more specific, more vivid piece of reality to hand to your reader. It's like turning a blurry, out-of-focus photo into a crystal-clear, high-definition image.
So that's the thought I want to leave you with. If these philosophers were right, if language really is the set of tools we use to build reality, then that makes every single one of us who writes an architect. And the question then becomes, what kind of world are you building with your words?